Hi loves, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I make new videos every single week and I have so many fun videos coming up for you guys, so if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on my bell notifications so you don't miss a thing. So if you didn't know, I am diagnosed with ADD, that's attention deficit disorder, which essentially makes it hard for me to focus on anything and everything because I get distracted really easily, and on top of my learning disability, I had a really hard time in school because of it. I've talked about it more on other videos on my channel, so if you would like to check those out, I will leave them up here and in the description box below if you're interested. I even made a whole video dedicated to different ways to focus in school if you also have ADD or ADHD, so I will link that down below if you would like to check that out. But anyway, today's video is going to be all about fidget toys. What are they? In a research article done by Flushing Hospital and Medical Center, fidget toys are self-regulation tools that can help with focus, attention, calming, and active listening. These are just a few examples of what they look like. Maybe you've seen some people use these before. I know fidget spinners were super popular a few years ago, and there are a lot of reasons why someone might want to use these. For example, this can be used to help get rid of extra energy for somebody who needs to sit still for a long period of time but has a hard time doing so, or they can be used to engage your body in a small physical activity to keep their mind grounded in reality and prevent them from daydreaming or getting distracted. Further into this article, they talk more about how fidget toys are able to benefit those who are diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. In this particular study, they looked at students who were given fidget toys to see if it would make a difference when it came to their grades. The results showed a 27% increase in the academic scores of those who were diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, and the scores were even higher for those who were also diagnosed with a learning disability on top of that. But when I was in school, my school did not allow us to use those. Their reasoning was that students with ADD or ADHD were kind of just giving themselves another way to be distracted in a class, and if we were caught using them, they would usually be confiscated. And although I didn't actually go out and buy any fidget toys myself, I found a lot of other things that had the same effect as those fidget toys. So to make up for this and kind of give myself a little bit of a physical activity to do to keep myself focused, I would do things such as like bite my lip, chew gum, play with my hair, crack my knuckles, all of which I got in trouble for doing at some point or another. I understand that if you're a teacher and you're not familiar with this disorder and others like it, how it can come off as rude sometimes, but that is a huge reason why I think there should be more education and resources available to teachers when it comes to those disorders and learning disabilities that affects our progress in the classroom. I really just wish more teachers were understanding of this and were able to advocate for people who are diagnosed with this disorder and many others like it, because those students in particular could really use that extra help and encouragement when it comes to our education. If you are in a similar situation to the one I was in, you know it's pretty much impossible to sneak an actual fidget toy in because it can be confiscated or you could just get in a lot of trouble for it. But if you're like me and it really does help you to fidget with something, I have come up with a list of everyday objects that might be able to help you out if you're not allowed to have actual fidget toys in class. Here are my personal favorite hidden fidget toys. I've split these up into 3 categories based on volume and kind of location of where you're at. So the first category is the quiet fidget toys. These are going to be the ones that you can use while you're taking a test or you're in a really quiet classroom and you don't want to draw a lot of attention to yourself. First up is hair ties. This is great because I usually always have these on my person. I like using multiple because you can kind of weave them in and out of each other and tie them and no one's ever going to know that that's what you're using it for. Also, it's a pretty mundane item, so no teacher is going to be like, hey, can I see what you're like doing? Like they're going to know it's a hair tie and kind of leave you alone. Next is pens with multiple pieces. I find that these ones are the best since they're only like 4 pieces. It's really easy to keep track of all of them. If you want to, you can also use the ones with the springs, but I find it's just easier to reconstruct after you're done. Also, again, it's something you already have on you since you're in class, and it's not going to draw a lot of attention if somebody else sees it. Just don't be the kid that clicks their pen over and over again. I know it's tempting, but please be considerate of those around you because they are also trying to focus. Next are rings. I know there are rings specifically designed for this, but I personally have a nickel allergy, so I tend to stay away from all of the jewelry that I don't know exactly what's in it. But if you are all good for jewelry, that is something to look into because I've heard that they really help and they're a good option, but normal rings work for this as well. I like doubling up on them and like twisting them together. It's really satisfying and it kind of gives the same effect as those rings with the spinning interior. I got these from Forever 21. They're completely nickel free and they are my favorite rings to fidget with. They spin really easy and they're quiet, so you're hopefully not going to get in trouble for using these. Similarly to rings are necklaces. This can really be any type of necklace, but I prefer ones that have like moving parts on them because again, this is a really easy way to just keep something like on you that you can fidget with if you're you're trying to ground yourself. Also, I feel like necklaces are a very like normal thing to play with. Like you always see people playing with them in class, so it's not like a big deal if somebody is doing that. Again, this is another easy way to get away with it because it's quiet and it's not distracting to anybody else. Next is erasers. This is again another normal everyday thing to have on you, especially in school. I'm pretty clumsy though, so I usually drop them, but I know kids that like used to poke holes in it or like draw on them or twirl them in your fingers like just to fidget with it. It's not for me, but it does help some people. The last thing in this category is paper clips. These are good just by themselves. I like bending them, but having multiple is great too because you can link them up to each other. These are one of my favorites because again, they're really small. You can move them around really easily and they're also really quiet. Also, again, it's probably one of those objects you already have on you. The next category we have are medium volume fidgets. These are slightly louder than the last grouping, and these are ones that I would usually use if I was studying in the hallway before class or just in a louder classroom in general. This one's kind of weird, but mini candies in a bag. It depends on which kind you have because they can be pretty loud, so I usually kept them in my coat pocket so that it muffled the sound a little bit. I don't know why it's so satisfying to play with, but it just is. And if you do keep it in your pocket, no one's really ever gonna know, so it's not gonna get taken from you. Also, if you get hungry, you have a little snack. Next is mini hand sanitizers. This, especially now, is a great thing to always have on you, and they come in different smells and shapes, so you can always find one that like works for you. I personally like the ones with the squishy outside. You can like twist it around, like smush it, flip the cap up. There's a lot of things you can do with it that are kind of like satisfying. Also, these are pretty small, so you can hide them in your pocket or clip it onto your bag. And the last thing in this category is post-it notes. I personally like the mini ones because they're a little bit more compact, a little easier to hide. I like doing the little fan thing with it, and it doesn't make a lot of noise. Also, again, they're small enough where you can keep them in your pocket and play with it, and it also muffles the sound of it. Finally, our last category is the loud fidget toys. These I really only use if I'm alone because I want to be considerate of those around me because I know they're trying to focus as well. I don't want to be a distraction for them. So yeah, I really only use these if I'm alone. First is dice. They are so satisfying to play with. I like reading with these. I like the sound it makes and it keeps me really grounded in what I'm doing. I also like the way it feels when you press them between your hands, like a little massage. It really helps me focus a lot. Next is marbles. These are really great for grounding because of the smooth and cool surface. The downside is they are really easy to lose, but I have seen people get these little mesh baggies for them to keep them contained, and it also adds that little bit of texture so you can also play with the mesh bag as well. I guess you could probably put the dice in a mesh bag as well and it would kind of be the same thing. But yeah, dice and marbles, really recommend. They're super loud, but I really recommend them. Next is lids with pop tops. Those are like the lids that have that little safety seal on it that when you break it, the lid pops open, and when you take it off and you like press on it, it makes a little popping sound. This one again is something I only use if I'm alone because it can be really annoying to the people around me, but I personally find it super helpful. These are great because they also come in a lot of sizes, so you can find one that like fits your hand right or fits in your pocket. They also have different popping sounds, so you can find one that you really like. Also, again, it's really grounding because of the smooth surface and the coldness of the metal. Next is really any type of pocket change. I usually always have some sort of spare change on me, and I really like the texture of all of it. And just like 1 or 2 coins is easy to fidget with if you're in class. I feel like it can be a quiet fidget if you only have like one of them and it's in your pocket and you don't drop it or anything. I feel like that's fine. But again, like I said, I'm clumsy. I always drop them, so that's why I'm kind of classifying this as a louder one. Also, I like to just spin them on the desk, and it is super loud, but it's really satisfying to me. I wish I could do a cool coin trick to show you guys, but I really don't know any. I'm kind of not that coordinated, so you get what you get. And finally, magnets. These are really loud, so I really only use them if I'm like alone. The loud clicking sound of them is really nice, and I also like the pull of the magnets. It's really grounding, but I have to be careful with these because I can get distracted by them sometimes. If I have a lot of them, I'll try and build stuff out of them, but usually if I just have like 2 or 3 of them, I'm fine. The ones that I have a little hole in it, so if I wanted to put these on a string or a pipe cleaner, that would make a really fun thing to play with as well, but I usually just use them as is. So yeah, those are some of my hidden fidget toys with everyday items. I really hope these were able to help you guys out. I know school can be really hard at times, but hopefully the more awareness we bring to this disorder and others like it, the more knowledge and resources will be made available to our administrators and teachers so that students struggling can get the extra help that they need. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you can think of any more of these that I didn't end up including in this video, feel free to leave a comment down below with your ideas. I would love to hear what you guys can come up with. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel down below and turn on my bell notifications so you don't miss a thing. Stay safe, stay healthy, make good choices, and I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.